Welcome into Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nick Roloff. Some news to discuss after the win against the Saints in Week 13. That is the third straight win for the Fins. They beat the Commanders, Bills, and Saints. Obviously beat the Falcons a couple weeks prior to that. So their winners are 4 of their last 5. We're going to talk some news, plus injury updates. We'll look at some playoff chances at the end of today's show as well. But make sure you do subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 79K. Join the family. Now, the first update is on the only player that got banged up in the game on Sunday against New Orleans. Fullback Alec Ingold left the game in the second half with a stinger. He was listed as questionable to return, and Mike McDaniel said he is labeled as day-to-day. Now, Alec Ingold is obviously a very pivotal part of this Dolphins offense. He is utilized in the run game a lot, even in the play-action game. Now, if he were to miss time, Miami would have a couple different options to replace him. I think they could utilize Julian Hill in that same role as that fullback / tight end that moves around from one side to the other side in motion. You could also use Daniel Brunskill, who still got a lot of snaps in that 6 O-line personnel package this past Sunday. I'm very happy Miami continued to use that package, and it provided dividends once again in the running game. But we'll ultimately monitor to see if Alec Ingold will be available to play this Sunday against the New York Jets. But more injury updates, specifically on the players looking to return from IR. Austin Jackson, Darren Waller played on Sunday, so now we're down to 3 guys still waiting to return. That being Andrew Meyer, who has been on the PUP/IR list from the start of the season. Jason Sanders, same thing. And James Daniels, who obviously got hurt in that Week 1 game against the Indianapolis Colts. Sounds like they're not going to be here next week, as Mike McDaniel said to be patient on their practice window being open. And I'll be honest here, we're approaching Week 14. We got a game on December 7th. The season ends on January 5th, 6th, or 7th. I forget the day, but it's one of those days. If they aren't going to be playing in Week 14 on December 7th, then why is there any belief that they will play at all for the remainder of the season? Like, I have now written it off in my mind with those 3. I'm not even that mad about Jason Sanders because a kicker lower body injury, that's obviously going to be pretty important, and Riley Patterson has been nails all season. But the one person I am frustrated with is James Daniels. This is a player that Miami invested in this offseason. I know Chris Grier made the investment, no longer with the team. But Mike McDaniel, obviously, as the head coach and play caller offensively, is going to sign off and tell Chris Grier which players he wants to add to his offense. And they clearly view James Daniels as a person who can fit in this Dolphins offensive line and work and improve that interior offensive line. They signed him to a 3-year, $24 million deal this offseason. And, of course, they backloaded most of the contract, and he's not even going to pay it off whatsoever because he's not playing for the Miami Dolphins whatsoever this season. I mean, he played 4 snaps, and then, boom, done for the year. He has 2 years left on his contract, and you see they could save money and not have that much dead cap if they wanted to cut him this offseason. I do not anticipate Miami doing that. You do not sign someone to a 3-year deal and release them after 1 year, even if they only played in 1 drive the entire season. But it's just frustrating, man. It really is, because you made an investment into the offensive line this offseason. You signed Daniels to a contract. You traded up in the 2nd round to draft Jonah Savaiinaea. And you're like, okay, we feel good about Patrick Paul, who's been awesome this year. We know Aaron Brewer is a stud, and we have Austin Jackson returning at right tackle. We just need to improve from Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg up front. Well, they thought they did that with Daniels and Savaiinaea, but Jonah has been horrible, and Daniels has only played 1 drive. So it has been incredibly annoying. Like, you made an investment. I came up here and told you in the offseason, the Dolphins' offensive line will be better than it was last season, because how could it be worse? They had 2 of the worst guards in football, and they replaced them with a 2nd-round pick, top 50 selection, and a free agent who got signed to a 3-year, $24 million deal. But then you have the injuries. Austin Jackson goes down. And it's like, I'll be honest, we looked at that projected offensive line for this season, and I do not think that you can count on all 5 of them starting for Miami in 2026, whether it's Jonah, whether it's Jackson, or Daniels. Like, is there any confidence in the 3 of them to be on the football field healthy, playing above average football? I don't think so. The only ones you can count on is Patrick Paul and Aaron Brewer. More coming here in a second, but do you have confidence in this Dolphins offensive line moving forward? Pin comment on today's show. Type Y for yes or type N for no. We're going to talk more about Austin Jackson here in a second, but I do want to briefly mention Jonah Savaiinaea because I have been hard on him all year long. Should I have been a little bit easier? Maybe, but I think when you trade up in the second round to draft an offensive lineman who was kind of proposed to us as a day one starter and could fit in this system, yeah, I expected at least not the worst offensive guard in football type of production. But that was the case from weeks 1 to week 9. Now, over the past 3 weeks, I think it certainly has gotten better for Jonah, but there are still a lot of lapses up here. And I can deal with some physical challenges because you can improve on that. What I can't deal with is the mental misjudges. And there was one play specifically, and I know it's only one play out of 60 offensive snaps for Miami on Sunday, but the Saints brought a 4-man pressure. They brought 3 on the D-line, and they brought a linebacker from the second level. Well, what happens? Patrick Paul shifts at left tackle to the outside to take the edge rusher. Jonah Savania moves to the inside, closer to Aaron Brewer at center on a shift to take the guy that was lined up over him. And then Aaron Brewer at center shifted left. But everybody shifted left. So there was a clear directive from Tua or Aaron Brewer that we're shifting left to pick up this pressure, especially if it comes in from that linebacker spot. Jonah goes right. He takes the left guard, and then the linebacker comes in untouched because Aaron Brewer couldn't get around fast enough to make up for Jonah's mishap. Like, that's the stuff that frustrates me. Like, Jonah's mental misjudgments and lapses is the part that needs to improve the most. He's getting better physically and actually performing the blocks, but can we do better up here? That's what I need. But we're going to segue this into some conversation about Austin Jackson at right tackle as well, because Mike McDaniel asked about his return. McDaniel said he probably exceeded my expectations to a degree. And I'll be honest, I actually would agree with Mike McDaniel here. I thought Austin Jackson was very, very good in this game. In his PFF grades versus the Saints, graded out in the 60s at all metrics, right? Overall, run block, pass block, didn't allow a sack, did allow a couple of pressures there. But when you watch the film on Austin Jackson, I think it was very important to see the positive snaps in tape on film. And we're actually going to do more of a deep dive on Austin Jackson on a video coming out on Tuesday morning, so be on the lookout for that. But I am absolutely happy with his return. For a veteran to not play football since September 6th or 7th or whenever it was, so practically 2 full months to return and play better and good football, that is very positive in my mind. I am very happy with the return that Austin Jackson had. Coming up in just 1 second, we're going to talk quarterback. Tua. He has to be better. Mike McDaniel realized it. We're going to talk about that and updated playoff chances. But it is Cyber Monday, Dolphins fans, and grab this rivalry hoodie on sale for Cyber Monday, $30 off. All sizes available. Was $89, now $59. Not going to be on sale much longer, folks, so go grab yours right now. Links in the description and comments of today's video. chatsports.com/DolphinsCB sale. Go grab yours now before it runs out. I don't think there's any way around it. Tua was certainly disappointing on Sunday against the Saints, and it's been a disappointing season for Tua Tagovailoa from start to finish. I mean, from the 3-interception game against the Colts to begin the year to the interception late against the Bills and late against the Patriots in weeks 2 and 3. Like, it just hasn't been a good year for the newly signed extended quarterback. This is the first year of that 4-year contract extension. And Mike McDaniel even recognized that as well, saying, I wouldn't say Tua played his best game. On the pick, he could have thrown it to Waller. He also had what Achan would say, a very catchable ball. Hill had a drop. It was a little herky-jerky in the pass game. There were some plays made in the second half by Tua, but there were some plays made that we would like to have back. And I appreciate Mike McDaniel giving us like a 50-50 answer. I mean, he certainly recognized that it was not a strong performance from Tua and the Dolphins' offensive passing attack, but he also was a little bit critical, as he should have. I mean, this is a bad performance from Tua. He barely completed 50% of his passes, and I know it was rainy conditions, but I don't want to hear those excuses because other quarterbacks around the league are able to go play good football in poor football conditions. He had a QB rating of 55.9, and he had 3 turnover-worthy plays. He threw 1 interception. He could have easily thrown a second when he threw that deep ball into double coverage to Jalen Waddle. And then also in the second half, he missed a throw to Waddle where Quincy Riley, the rookie Louisville defensive back, dropped an interception. I mean, this type of quarterback play from Tua simply will not fly against superior opponents. It is why Miami is 5-7. I mean, I don't want to throw shade, but think about the Dolphins' 5 wins this season. They beat the Jets, bottom 5 team in football. The Saints, bottom 3 team in football. The Falcons, bottom 7-8 team in football. They beat the Commanders, bottom 10 team in football. And they beat the Bills. So the Bills is a good win, but you dominated that game on the ground and defensively. You didn't win that game because of Tua. And you didn't win really any of the other games this season because of Tua either. So I don't want to be the pessimistic guy here, but just because Miami is winning football games doesn't mean it is rainbows and sunshines in Miami when it comes to Mike McDaniel and Tua, because it's not. The coaching still has not been elite. The quarterback play has still been very, very bad, but they're playing opponents that have been struggling, and they're really dominating on the ground and defensively, which is why this team has been able to stack a couple of wins here over the past 5 weeks. And let's get into the playoff picture, as Miami has now won 3 in a row, 4 in their last 5, to get their record on the year at 5-7. And the playoff picture is certainly getting very interesting here. Heading into Monday Night Football, now this obviously could change if the Patriots beat the Giants and move to 11-2, and they'll regain the number 1 record in all of football and in the AFC. But I'm really just focusing in on that wild card picture. The Bills won, the Chargers won, the Colts won. Or lost, excuse me. So all 3 teams are 8-4. And Miami there, you see it, 4th team out in the hunt, trailing the Steelers, the Chiefs, and the Texans. There is a very pivotal game in Week 14 coming up here on Sunday Night Football between the 7-5 Texans and the 6-6 Chiefs. I think the loser of that game might as well be eliminated from the NFL playoffs. But why is this interesting to me? Well, this Colts and Chargers schedule over the last 5 weeks of the season is certainly not easy, and you've got injuries to Justin Herbert and Daniel Jones. But if you're someone who has a lot of hope in making it to 10-7 and making the playoffs, I still don't feel very great about it, folks, because we have detailed it. 2 weeks ago, if the Dolphins won out to get to 10-7, their chances of making the playoffs was about 32%. Well, then they beat the Commanders, go into a bye week. Coming out of the bye week, if they won out, their chances of making the playoffs was at 23%. So it went down because of the other results in the league. And now, even after the Dolphins winning, so the Miami Dolphins are doing their job. They've won 3 straight games. But because of the other results around the NFL, the percentage chance of Miami making the playoffs has went down again if they win out to 15%. You would need absolutely historic collapses from the Bills, from the Colts, from the Chargers. Now, when you look at the Colts' schedule, all 5 of their games in the remaining season is against teams with at least 7 wins. I mean, how crazy is that? They still got to play the Texans. They still got to play the Jags, the Seahawks. Like, the Colts' schedule is a gauntlet. The Bills don't have an easy schedule either. They still have to play the Eagles, the Bengals, and the Patriots. The point I'm trying to say is this. Yes, some of these teams Miami is chasing hard schedules. It's probably not going to happen. And I want people to know, we'll update you on the chances Miami has of making the playoffs, but I do not think under any circumstances Miami will be playing in mid-December. That'll do it for today's episode. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us here on this show. We'll be back tomorrow with a pair of videos and live on Thursday as well. So subscribe and join the family.